And today's a big day because we have London's Mayor Sadiq Khan sitting down with us. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good to be with you, Douglas. Really good to be with you.
Welcome to Texas. So you're here meeting with a bunch of other mayors from the United States. And I guess getting together and sort of fraternizing with them. And more specifically, you are here to talk about how cities can use technology to improve the lives of its inhabitants. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, first, I know you're biased here because you love LA, but it's great to be in Austin. The hospitality, the warmth, the food, the people, it's been an amazing 24 hours so far. This morning I spent with 40 or so mayors from across the US. And there is this real friendship between mayors of all parties, Republican, Democrats. I'm a Labour mayor, and we get on really, really well. One of the things we all have in common is we're very competitive.
Sure.
And we were sharing some of the things we're doing around tech, around innovation, but also sharing things we can replicate from each other as well. But also, South by Southwest is amazing because of the people you meet, from the giant tech representatives to the startups, to the scale-ups, to politicians and policymakers, musicians, filmmakers, and great, obviously, opportunity to speak to you as well, Douglas.
Yeah,
I'm here to make sure that people know that London is a byword for technology, for innovation. We are a smart city. We want to be the world's smartest city, but also because South by Southwest attracts such a high caliber of important people, I want to engage in a conversation about, I think, one of the big challenges we have, many opportunities, but big challenges around this latest industrial revolution, which is the tech revolution.
Right, and no one's challenged you to an IQ test yet?
I'm not sure who you could be referring to. Listen, I'm trying to be, can I just say, I'm being really well behaved here. I'm not starting any fights or doing anything wrong. Douglas is starting a fight here.
No, I'm actually going to leave it out. But I think it's important to know, for a lot of you, who, especially Americans, if you might be familiar with the mayor from his response to, and how he's defended London from some of the contentious statements that have been made by President Donald Trump. But your background is you've had some training in boxing. I also read that you at some point were a comedian, so you're obviously a funny person. And I'm glad you didn't go into dentistry. But I can speak firsthand from living in California now for a while. I had a mayor, Gavin Newsom. We lived across the bay from Jerry Brown when he was the mayor of Oakland. And now my mayor is Eric Garcetti, who I'm a big fan of.
So am I.
He skateboards around town.
He does.
I mean, and he plays the keyboards with Moby. You can't beat that guy. They're all very progressive mayors, but one of the things I have noticed that they have done is they have stepped in when the federal and national government has failed us, and they have helped push the ball down the field for all kinds of policies. For example, Newsom, he was the first to legalize, same-sex marriage, right? They ended up having to stop that, but then now look where we are in the United States. So when it comes to technology and using it to improve the overall well-being of citizens in that city, what is London and what are you doing to do that?
Well, firstly, can I say I'm a big fan of Eric's as well. Eric gave me a skateboard as a present and wrote on it to my brother Sadiq. He can skateboard far, far better than I can.
He's a pretty good skateboarder, yeah.
He's a very impressive guy.
He's also a really good keyboard player.
Is that right? I think actually Moby's cooler for being with Eric Garcetti than Eric Garcetti being with Moby. But you know,
Mo, did you hear that?
Yeah. But can I say this? Look, so what I've noticed about cities and mayors is we can move far quicker and we're fleet-footed in relation to a whole host of issues. We don't simply have the levers and powers given to us from our respective parliaments. We also have convening powers. We can change attitudes and change cultures. And you look at the great mayors your country's had, from Harvey Milk, you mentioned Eric Garcetti, Newsom. We know about the work Bill de Blasio and Mike Bloomberg did. There's work taking place all across America. You look at Greg Fisher in Louisville. What I've tried to do in London and the UK is to learn some of the best practice that you've had. So, for example, as the mayor, I think it was really important for me when I became mayor to be leading the LGBT Pride festival. Really important to send a message that if you are somebody who's LGBT+, this is your city.
Sure.
Give you a sense of belonging. It's important for me to help organise festivals in Trafalgar Square that celebrates who you are. I think in the 21st century now, we all have multiple identities. I'm a Londoner, I'm an Englishman, I'm British, I'm a European, I'm of Islamic faith, I'm of Asian origin, and on and on and on. And the same would apply to you, Douglas. You're not just one thing. And what mayors can do is to encourage and cajole our national governments and national politicians to move faster with the times, and that applies particularly in tech. So I think actually we're going through a really exciting period of time. The speed of change is phenomenal. If you look at the previous 3 industrial revolutions, they were far slower, and the pace of change was far less than it is now. That brings massive opportunities. Shared economy. You can now hire out a spare bedroom in your place. You can hire out, your services. You can book hotels just remotely without going to a travel agent, and holidays. And it's been brilliant, but it brings challenges as well. And I think politicians and policymakers have been slow to respond to some of the challenges. Mayors, on the other hand, we are responding. So mayors like...
You're on the ground. I mean, that's also your sort of the first line.
Well, let me give you an example. So if you look at previous industrial revolutions, they've led to certain jobs and professions becoming extinct, right? So in the old days, the way you used to farm, the way you used to have industries from your home, that changed with factories, that changed with modern farming methods. Similarly, there are some jobs, I'm afraid, that will become redundant because of technology. Well, hold on a sec, let's work together to make sure we train up youngsters to have the skills for the jobs of tomorrow. Let's not be doom and gloom about it. Let's use the advances as an opportunity to skill up citizens in LA or Austin or London to have the skills for the jobs of tomorrow.
Do you think that might actually help to temper some of the nationalism that is sweeping a lot of the Western countries by essentially helping some people who are left behind step in the 21st century?
It's really important. Look, there's been a rise in my country, in your country, across Europe. We saw it most recently with the elections in Italy, the rise of nationalist, populist movements, nativism. And what it does is it plays on people's fears. What I would rather do is address people's fears. People do have fears. People do have concerns, genuine fears. My job's been lost. I can't get healthcare. I can't get my son or daughter into a good school. Well, look, let's address those concerns. Let's not blame the other. I'll give you the most recent example of this. We're seeing the rise of protectionism. The idea, the way we can protect jobs in our communities is by putting up barriers for bringing people wanting to import things. What that will lead to is the rise in prices. It will lead to jobs being lost. It's short term, not long term. And I think we've got to make sure we actually address the concerns. The concerns are, how do we make sure what were previously flourishing communities continue to flourish? That means making sure we skill up our workers, we're competitive, and we make sure consumers have a choice. And that's what responsible politicians do. And dare I say it, mayors are doing that across America, and mayors are doing that across the UK, and national politicians in many countries aren't doing that.
What are some of the more actionable, tangible things that you're trying to enact or have already enacted right now in London to help use technology to improve the welfare there?
Let me give you some examples of some of the huge progress we've made around technology. So we've got an air quality issue in many major cities across the world with diesel and poor quality cars leading to particulate matters and nitrogen dioxide. We've got across London now air quality monitors. We can monitor the air and have air quality alerts. So if you've got asthma problems, you can choose not to jog in certain parts of the city, in certain parts of the day. If you're a mum or dad with a child, you can not push the buggy around certain parts of the city and certain parts of the day. I'll give you another one. We now have in London, in our public transport system, completely cashless. You can use your credit card, your debit card, contactless payments getting across London now. I'll give you another example. We're now working with the private sector, innovators, startups, to use the data we're freeing up to plan journeys. How long will it take to get from A to B? What's the best way to get from A to B? Another big thing that politicians like me are doing, using Facebook. Look, the reality is we're the best one in the world. I can't persuade, as much as I'd like to, the newspapers and the TV stations to broadcast my brilliant speeches and my messages. What Facebook does is a remarkable tool. I can speak directly to my voters, directly to businesses around the world, explaining why London is open, why we're a great city. And that's a medium that has changed the quality of lives of so many Londoners, so many Brits and people around the world as well.
Weren't you actually one of the first British members of Parliament to use Twitter or Facebook?
Yeah, it was back in the olden days, sort of 2008, where I tweeted. It's quite. So I got a promotion from Prime Minister Gordon Brown, and so the first tweet was, and they have a reshuffle on a certain day, and so my first tweet was, "Guess what? Good news," and that led to an exponential growth in my followers.
Yeah.
Then the second tweet a few months later was, I've got some good news about promotion. I have received more followers, and the third one was announcing my promotion.
Well, that's very exciting. And also, if you are curious to know where he's going to be, where the mayor is going to be, you're also prolific on Twitter, and he's hanging out with the locals right now.
I don't tweet at night time.
Do you tweet after you watch the morning cable news?
I'm very careful what I tweet, and I check it, and I try not to start fights.
No, that's true, but it is fun to watch him because you do get down with the people, and I appreciate that. I think it's also really important to note that you are the first Muslim mayor of London, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's 9 million plus people around there live in London, and that's a significant thing because of the things you mentioned earlier, the events and all in bringing together LGBTQ and people of different faiths. That's really significant because you're not just the prototypical white male politician. You have a lot of other things to carry along with you.
Thanks for that, Douglas. I mean, London's population is 9 million. And during my election campaign, my main opponent was trying to use my religion against me because I accept there are some people who do bad things around the world who use the faith that I belong to justify their acts. I accept this. What it leads to, unfortunately, is people who don't have friends who are Muslims thinking we're all terrorists, we're all bad people. And during my campaign, that was used against me, that I'm a Muslim. What was remarkable, and it shows why London is a great city, is that people of London rejected the messages of fear and division and chose instead hope and unity. And I was really proud, and I'm so proud of my city for giving me the big mandate they did. But the great thing about London is we don't simply tolerate difference. You don't be tolerated. You're going to be respected, right, embraced, and celebrated. And we have, rich, poor, old, young, Muslims, Christians, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, those who are members of an organised faith, those that aren't, not simply tolerating each other, but respecting, celebrating and embracing each other. And one of the things I'll be saying during my keynote speech tomorrow is I think social media companies are brilliant. I think they could do a far better job of bringing people together rather than inadvertently allowing the medium to be used by those who want to divide us.
Of course. And your keynote speech tomorrow, do we know what time it's at?
I think it's at 2 o'clock, Austin time. But I think I come here jet-lagged, sleep-deprived, and the clock's changed. I have 1 hour less sleep, so I'm a bit confused about the time.
Welcome to daylight savings time. Well, Mayor Khan, thank you so much for being here. I wish that you could stay for another 3 hours and we could hang out and talk.
Well, can you see his socks? So this guy has got avocado. Douglas. I mean, Austin is the hipster capital of the world, right? And Douglas has every demographic covered. He clearly has a good team advising him on what to wear. But very impressed.
I do. His name is Matthew Goldman, and I appreciate that. I've got the dude down, and then I've got my avocados are important.
I know they are.
Healthy fats.
A very important demographic to my electorate, the avocado eaters of London.
Mayor, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
That was great. Thank you for watching South by Southwest Live. Thank you so much.
No, cheers. Good stuff.